Assalamu alaikum. In this video, today we will discuss a new topic, that is the local control of the tissue blood flow. Before starting the proper discussion about this topic, I would like to guide you about this whole chapter of your textbook. Kindly, it is not necessary that you read each and every line of the textbook. As I have repeatedly advised you previously also, that you are not going to appear the exam of the Guyton, but you have to appear in the UHS exam or the university of your own university exam. So you must understand the things and you have to follow the relevant syllabus. Regarding this chapter, for the topic of the local control of the blood flow to any organ or any tissue, to understand the main theme that is necessary. For that purpose, I have prepared this video and this lecture to fulfill your all requirements. It is more than sufficient for you. So, you must follow the syllabus of the relevant university with this lecture, which is more than sufficient for you. In this video, I will give you many sketches or the summary of the whole of the chapter. Because of these sketches, you will have a better understanding of the subject. So leaving the irrelevant portion and just concentrate the main theme of the local control of the blood flow to the specific organ or the tissue. That is the main topic. For that purpose, I will give you the sketches, and it is your assignment also that draw these sketches in your sketchbook, and it will be the summary of whole of the chapter, and you can better have understanding about this topic. So you must carefully watch this video. Before discussing other things, we must note that what is the need of the blood flow to the organ or to the tissue. Obviously, for the life, the blood is necessary. Tissue needs include delivery of oxygen to the tissues, for the delivery of the nutrient, for example glucose, amino acids, and also the removal of the carbon dioxide and other waste materials. Also, the transport of the various hormones and substances to these different tissues. I am telling you these functions because deficiency of these things, for example oxygen, nutrient, metabolite, hormones, local hormones, that will create the problem, and that is the main topic of the blood flow to the tissue. How it is locally controlled. Whenever there is insufficient oxygen, deficient oxygen supply, or there is increased need of the oxygen, for example during exercise, the need increases for the oxygen and other nutrients, that will create the problem, and that is controlled locally. How that one, that this thing should be discussed. And now coming to the next the other um, summary, that is control of the blood flow, that may be local control through the oxygen or other nutrient or other metabolite, or through the nervous system, especially when there is fluctuation of the blood pressure, how the tissues they are going to manage themselves. And the next, that is the hormonal control, especially the hormones which are released by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve endings. Regarding the blood vessels, the sympathetic system is more important as compared to the parasympathetic. So we will discuss the epinephrine and norepinephrine in detail also regarding the sympathetic supply coming from the sympathetic nerve endings. This is a very important sketch showing the summary of whole of the chapter. Through this sketch, you will take a very nice message. You will have a very clear concept over the control of the blood flow. And this topic is, from your examination point of view, this topic is very important. Before this chapter, other chapters in which we have discussed about the arteries, veins and the capillaries, they are important, but very few topics in these chapters. But this chapter, including the local control of the blood flow and how the blood pressure fluctuation affect the local control of the blood flow, all these things they are very important. So you should have a very clear concept, a well understanding about this topic. So control is through local, hormonal or nervous. In the local control, that is further divided into acute, that is immediate and long term, and also through the endothelium derived factors. Then hormones and also other ions, for example H ions, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sodium, or other chemical factors, prostaglandin, bradykinin, histamine, like that one, and also the epinephrine, norepinephrine, these things. The nervous control include the sympathetic and parasympathetic, but sympathetic regarding the blood vessel, that is more important. So this is whole of the summary of the control of the blood flow. Today, in whole of this summary, we will discuss the acute, local acute control and also the endothelium derived factors, leaving the long term, which we will discuss in the next video. Now coming to the local control, which may be acute or long term, as their name shows that acute is within seconds to minutes, while long term may include the changes which can occur within days, within weeks, or within months and within years. For a very simple thing, that is the acute is within seconds, and long term, for long term you can have the example of Shahid Afridi, as he is a well played cricketer having fixed or long term changes in the circulatory system, which he develops in within weeks, or within after weeks, months and years. So that will be discussed later on, but today we will focus the acute control. Again, I am giving you the next sketch, and it is also for your assignment. Draw the acute control of the blood flow and elaborate through the sketch. I will tell you all these theories and these things in detail, but this should be in front of you while discussing this topic. So mind it that you must draw this sketch in your sketchbook, and also always remember this one, which is the summary of the acute control of the blood flow. Firstly, I give you the summary of all of the chapter. Now coming to the summary of the acute control. As I have told you previously when discussing the needs of the blood flow to the tissue, that they need the oxygen, different nutrient, their waste products, they should be uh, removed from the tissues. Keeping all these things in your mind, we have these metabolic requirements, which includes the vasodilator theory and the oxygen lack theory, and lack of oxygen and with the other lack of nutrients, for example glucose and amino acids, and some of the vitamin and all things I will discuss later on. With that, this is the metabolic requirement. Based on that, we have the vasodilator theory and oxygen and nutrient lack theories. Now the second thing, very important, what happens if there is fluctuation of the blood pressure? And mind it, it is not necessary that the blood pressure will be fluctuating in the hypertensive patient or in shock condition. No, it is not necessary. A normal person can have fluctuation of the blood pressure in 24 hours. So what is the solution for that one? And also for this one, if there is any increased demand within 24 hours, what should we do? We should have a bottle of the blood infused to us, or we should have medicine to control the blood pressure. No, this is not happening. The fluctuations either related to the metabolic requirements or the fluctuation of the blood pressure, they are dealt locally because of our genetical setup, our homeostatic mechanisms, our mechanisms belonging to the metabolic theory or myogenic theory, and all these theories. So these are the mechanisms which are going to control our blood flow locally, instantly, immediately, or the effect of fluctuation of the blood pressure. Now slowly with that we come to the next thing. Now today we will discuss all of these things, all of these theories and mechanisms. So as I have shown here, that we have metabolic based on the metabolic requirement, we have the vasodilator theory and oxygen lack and other nutrient lack theory. So we have the vasodilator theory, oxygen demand theory. Vasodilator theory includes in that we have certain vasodilator substances which are released locally. They are going to act on the prescapillary sphincter. What is that one? In previous video I have told you what is that one. That is the encircling smooth muscle fiber in the beginning of the capillary, which acts as the sphincter, and the function is to control the blood flow through the capillaries. So these vasodilator substances, they are very much specific chemical substances which when released they act on that one and to cause the vasodilatation. What is the stimulus for that? That is that must be discussed here. The increased tissue metabolism, so that it causes the increased release of the vasodilator substances, Once they are released, the arterial resistance decreases, and whenever the resistance decreases, blood flow to the tissue that increases. It is a common sense, when there is less resistance, it will be accommodating more and more blood because of the decreased resistance. It is easy for the blood flow to go to that tissues. More and more blood is flowing through that tissue. As compared to that, we have the oxygen demand theory. Either the tissue metabolism increase or the oxygen delivery to the tissue that decreases. You can take the example of exercising muscle. That is very interesting, very important, and during the lectures over the topic respiratory physiology, I have told you the exercise physiology, in which we have all these things combined. What changes occur during exercise regarding the respiratory system, regarding the heart, and other local changes? I have told you in these videos, in these lectures. So, the same thing I am going to discuss here again, that whenever there is increased metabolism, increased utilization of the metabolites and nutrients, and also there is accumulation of the carbon dioxide, accumulation of the lactic acid, all these things, they are going to affect the local blood flow to the exercising muscle. If you keep the example of the exercise, all these things, they become very much easy to understand. So always remember that example and quote it in different situations. In the respiratory changes, in the heart changes, and at high altitude, and hypoxic condition, and the shock condition, and this local control of the blood flow into the exercising muscle or the local tissue. For all topics, you can have the best example of the exercise physiology. So coming to the same thing, increased tissue metabolism or decreased oxygen delivery to the tissues, it will lead to less tissue oxygen concentration. Again, the arterial resistance decreases, which increase the blood flow. So through these mechanisms, the blood flow increases to the local tissues. In that, I am going to show you the oxygen lag theory, which includes not only the oxygen lag but also the decreased nutrition, for example, the glucose or the amino acid. With that, vasodilation can occur in the vitamin deficiency, for example, in the disease beriberi, in which the patient has deficiencies of the vitamin B substances, thiamine, niacin, riboflavin. So it is not necessary that we focus just the glucose or the amino acid. It may occur in the vitamin deficiency also. This is the mechanism how they are acting. Either the lack of oxygen formation is a direct combination of both. They are going to act on the smooth muscle, causing the relaxation of the smooth muscle present in the precapillary sphincter. That's the thing. So that they are going to act on it, and there is increased blood flow. So by controlling this, either the constriction or the dilatation, that is going to control the blood flow in these capillaries. Now coming to the next thing, very important, what happens with the fluctuation of the blood pressure? Mind it, this thing is happening in you, not the hypertensive patients. For the hypertensive patient, these theories, the limit of these theories that is crossed, only then the patient develops, with the passage of the time, with the passage of weeks, after months, he or she become a hypertensive patient. But initially, we all have these safety mechanisms to control the fluctuation of the blood pressure, which are going to occur within 24 hours. Again, for autoregulation, we have the metabolic theory and the myogenic theory, and some other mechanism also. As I in the first slide, I have shown you the some other mechanism for the special type of the circulation occurring in the brain or in the kidney, like that one, that are the very much specific to these organs. But on the whole, we have two major theories, metabolic and the myogenic theory, regarding the autoregulation for the fluctuation of the blood pressure. As its name shows, metabolic mainly depends upon the metabolism, oxygen, all these things. Myogenic means depending upon the muscles, and regarding the circulatory unit, the smooth muscle, as they are present in abundant in the vascular walls, so they are important. So myogenic theory, that is mainly related to the smooth muscles of the vessel wall. Local blood flow is maintained near constant despite change in the blood pressure. How this happens? Because of the autoregulation. According to the first metabolic theory, when the arterial pressure becomes too great, the excess flow provides too much oxygen and too many other nutrients to the tissues and washes out the vasodilator released by the tissues. These nutrients, especially oxygen, and decreased tissue levels of vasodilators then cause the blood vessels to constrict and the flow to return nearly to normal despite of the increased pressure. This is again the summary of the metabolic theory, how arterial pressure become too great, too much oxygen and other nutrient transport to the tissue. These nutrients constrict the blood vessel and flow return to the normal despite increased pressure. This is the description of the picture which I will show in the next slide, in which you can see the local vasodilatation related to the tissue metabolic activity, how the different substances, ion, how the oxygen or the nutrients or the different ions, potassium, calcium, that are acting on the vessel wall, that will be shown in the next slide. This is the description of that one. This is the vascular lumen, the smooth muscles and the connective tissues. These are the endothelial cells. In this picture, I am going to show you that how the decrease of the oxygen, increase on osmotic pressure, increase H ions or lactate, adenosine effect, carbon dioxide effect, and potassium, how they are going to affect this lumen of the vessel. These are the different mechanisms through which they are mainly controlling the vascular lumen. Now coming to the next, myogenic theory. According to this theory, the sudden stretch over the small vessel wall causes the smooth muscle of the vessel wall to contract, so that high arterial pressure stretches the vessel. This in turn causes reactive vascular constriction, that reduces blood flow nearly back to the normal. And same at low pressure, the degree of stretch of the vessel is less so that the smooth muscle relaxes, reducing vascular resistance and helping return flow towards the normal. You must remember that myogenic theory is more important as compared to the other. Myogenic contraction is initiated by stretch-induced vascular depolarization, which then rapidly increases calcium ion entry from the extracellular fluid into the cells, causing them to contract. Changes in vascular pressure may also open or close other ionic channels, as I have shown you in the previous slide, that influence the vascular contraction. So, through these two mechanisms, that is the metabolic or the myogenic theories that are helpful to control or to have the auto-regulation. This one more thing about the myogenic mechanism, how the tension is affecting or related to the pressure and the radius of the vessel wall. Tension in the vessel that is related to the product of the pressure is equal to the product of the pressure and radius of the vessel. Radius that is related to the vasoconstriction or vasodilatation. So through this picture, through this slide, I am going to tell you why and how the vasoconstriction occur or vasodilatation occur and why it occurs. What is going to affect how it is related to the pressure. So when there is increased pressure, there is increased tension over the vessel wall. To maintain the tension constant, the radius should be decreased. So whenever there is increased pressure, radius decrease, that is causing the vasoconstriction. And opposite, to maintain the tension constant, the opposite effect take place, decrease pressure, decrease tension, and obviously when there is less tension, less resistance, that increases the radius or vasodilatation. So in this way, all these things, they are interconnected with each other. Blood flow to through any vessel, that depends upon the tension, pressure, radius, and presence of local substances, vasodilator substances, vasoconstrictor substances, either the oxygen is present or lack of oxygen or lack of nutrient. All these factors, they will decide, they are the determinants of the blood flow to the locally to the blood flow to the local tissue. Now remaining thing, one more, that is the endothelium derived factor. Endothelium, where it is present in the wall of the vessel wall. I will show you the diagram also to have the clear concept about that one. From that side, two types of the factors, they are released according to the situation. Either the relaxing or the constricting factor. If there is demand for the release of the relaxing factor, that will be released. If there should be constriction of the vessel, so the constricting factor, that will be released. But here you must appreciate that releasing factor, that relaxing factor, that is the nitric oxide, NO, and the constricting factor, that is the endothelium. How it is going to act, what is the mechanism, that will better to have this diagram. This is the substance, that is the NO. How it is formed, firstly, that is the various physical and chemical stimuli that are going to act here in the endothelial cells. Oxygen and arginine combine in the presence of a specific enzyme which is called the nitric oxide synthase, so that NO is formed. Now it comes out of the endothelial cells to act on the vascular smooth muscle of the vessel wall to change the CGTP into CGMP. Now this causes the relaxation of the vessels. So in this way, whenever there is certain physical chemical stimuli that comes, mm, at that time this substance that is formed and immediately cause the relaxation locally. One more thing, this is the shear stress. What is that one? If you can say it's just simple stress also. Stress that is mainly determined by the blood flow which is coming from previous vessel, as the blood flow through that vessel because of the resistance continuously offered by the vessel wall, the effect changes over the speed of the flow of the blood through that vessel, and that ultimately affect the next one also. So in short, you can see that this is a type of the stress, not going into much more detail, that is also causing the more and more formation of NO and causing the relaxation locally. You can also say that the local metabolic mechanism for controlling tissue blood flow dilate mainly the very small arteries and arterioles in each tissue. Yet when blood flow through the microvascular portion of the circulation increases, this secondarily stimulates the release of NO from larger vessels due to increased flow and shear stress in these vessels. And the next thing, that is the constricting factor, that is endothelin, a powerful vasoconstrictor substance. So I am saying again and again that these are different types of the chemical substances. Either they results in the vasodilatation or the vasoconstriction, depending upon the situation happening locally. So these are the substances which are locally released and locally they act. Released by this specific substance endothelium, that is released by damaged endothelium, for example during chemical injury or crushing injury, and it prevents the bleeding also. So how it acts, this substance is present in the endothelial cells of all or most blood vessels but greatly increases when the vessels are injured. So the main stimulus, that is the injury to the vessel wall. The usual stimulus for release is damage to the endothelium, such as that caused by crushing the tissues or injecting the traumatizing chemical into the blood vessel. Arteriosphere blood vessel damage, release of local endothelium and subsequent vasoconstrictors so that the vasoconstriction occur through these substances. And this is the summary of mechanism of vasodilatation in acute local control, showing separately for the small vessel and for the larger vessels. For the smaller vessels, the vasomotion or precapillary sphincter and metabolic factors, these are sufficient to cause the local vasodilatation. But for the larger vessels, the next thing, that is the endothelial factors that are offering the assistance also. In that one, we have the nitric oxide. So this is all about the acute local control of the blood flow and endothelial derived factors. In the next video, we will discuss the long term and the humoral and nervous control of the local blood flow to the tissue. So keep watching these videos, and now thank you. Allah Hafiz.